Am I the jerk for not being open to the idea of changing my first name simply because my foster parents don't like it? Here's what happened. I'm a 16-year-old male and I'm a foster kid. I was taken from my mom 3 years ago because she's not doing good mentally and it wasn't considered safe for me to live with her. My current foster parents are the ones that I hope to stay with until I turn 18. They're the best I've ever had and I bounced around a lot, especially in my first year. But there is something that came up that now I'm wondering about. So my name, for the sake of the story, is Ryder, and my foster parents don't outright say that they hate it, but I think I saw my foster mom cringe at my name before. My foster dad asked me when we first met what my middle name was, and I guess that wasn't a name that he liked either. So they call me Rye, and I think sometimes they tried to say my name's Ryan instead of Ryder. Well, a month ago, they had asked me if I had ever considered changing my first name when I turned 18 to something more sophisticated sounding. They even said Ryan could be an idea since it is close and they share a nickname, but I told them I liked my name and I didn't ever think of changing them. They didn't say any more then, but a week later, they told me they had thought a lot about my future and they worried my name would be something that holds me back. My foster mom said it sounds so lewd when said fast, and they felt I deserved better than that, but I told them that it didn't bother me and I liked that my mom had chosen my name, and that was the end of it again. But then last week they brought it up again and they showed me these articles on the importance of a name, of naming babies for adult life instead of being cute or fun as kids. They told me they couldn't make me do it, which I knew, but they would like me to strongly consider it so I could have the chance at a professional future and being taken seriously. They said they would hate to see me passed over for jobs because of my name, and that they feel like a much older me wouldn't find the name as cool as I do now. They asked if I trust them and I said yeah, and they said if I do, I should really give some thought to what I could change my name to that would be a better name for me as an adult. I told them I was really never going to be okay with that, and I felt like it was a waste of time and would just get me stuck with some name that I wouldn't like. They then asked me why I was so okay with dismissing my future and why I didn't even want to try when they were doing all they could to help me out. And right then I could tell that it really got to them that I was still so against it. So am I the jerk for not wanting to change my name? What should I do? No, of course you're not the jerk. It is insane that they're really trying to be like, oh yeah, you need to change your name. We don't like your name as it is. It's got to be something different. Like, that's insane and that doesn't make any sense. The name Ryder is a completely normal name. Any kind of lewd assumption is on them, not on you. So if I was in your shoes, I would not change my name for a second, because honestly, their logic is completely flawed. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not using my inheritance from my parents to try and take care of my husband's family? Because right now he is very upset, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my husband and I have been married for about 31 years. We purchased his parents' farm several years ago and paid for it with a mortgage. We have since paid that mortgage off, and we also built our forever home on the farm, and it is also paid for, and we raise cattle on the farm. His family is always asking for help, and this is really his sisters specifically, and a couple of his nephews. For context, we took care of his father, mother, and Down syndrome sister when nobody else in the family would take care of them. We were the only ones of his siblings who still had young children at home, but we felt that if we didn't take care of them, the state was going to step in and take them away. In my family, you take care of your family, so we took them in and never looked back. However, I think his family resented us for this and somehow feels like they are owed something because we own the family farm, and for some reason, my husband thinks that he has to take care of his other sisters, even though there's nothing wrong with them except that they have low IQs. Now on to the issue at hand. I have inherited a decent amount of money from my parents, and my husband doesn't know the specifics and is upset that I won't disclose the amount. He doesn't have access to the account, and he wants me to take some of the money and build a house on our farm for his sisters to live in, so they won't have to pay for rent anymore or even live in apartments. He wants us to pay their property taxes and insurance because he says they won't be able to afford that, but they can pay their utilities. And he doesn't want to charge them rent. But seriously, why should I use my inheritance that my parents worked their butts off to earn and pass on to me so that my husband's lazy sisters can sit in a brand new house on their family's farm and never have to pay property tax or insurance or even rent? I feel like this is my money and I shouldn't have to spend it on his family. I want to put the majority of it in trust funds to our 2 children so I can pass it on to them. And to be honest, I am seriously thinking about taking my inheritance and getting a divorce and living happily ever after. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, I think it's insane that your husband is like, oh yeah, give me your inheritance so I can use it for my sisters. Because this literally is not his money. And I can understand him wanting to take care of his sisters, but it honestly seems like he's focusing on them instead of, I don't know, his children. So no, you are definitely not the jerk, because if I was in your shoes, I would definitely be upset as well. Am I the jerk for telling my parents to think about whether they want to stay with me after my mom gave me the silent treatment literally over nothing? Here's what happened. I'm a 31-year-old female and I live on another continent from my parents. We have a rocky relationship because my mother is controlling and throws fits when she doesn't get her way. My dad is unfortunately an enabler and goes with the angle of saying, oh, it's your fault, you should apologize for upsetting your mother. And trust me, he does this every single time. Well, recently they came to stay in my 400 square foot studio apartment with me, despite me saying they might be more comfortable in a hotel. For cultural reasons, I'm from an Asian family, and my mom thinks that she needs to come rearrange my kitchen and cook food for me, and that I should be grateful and revert to the powerlessness of my childhood. For example, she decides what I eat for every meal, and I get questioned about when I'm leaving the house and when I'm coming back home. Well, I came back from work yesterday, and the water was out without any kind of warning. I got slightly upset, as my landlord has been guilty of doing this kind of thing before, all without any kind of 24-hour notice. As I was putting in the work order, I muttered under my breath about how annoying it was, and I was clearly very frustrated. Well, my mom started telling me to calm down, and then she started to say, why do you always get so worked up about these things? Now, I was already very frustrated, so I calmly said, don't tell me to calm down. I have the right to be upset about this. My feelings are valid. And trust me when I say this, I did not raise my voice. Well, my mom hates when I say things like this, so she responded by throwing whatever she was holding to the ground and giving me the silent treatment. And before she started that, she said to me, well, I have the right to feel many things too. How dare you talk to me that way? Then she gave me the silent treatment for the rest of the night, including refusing to eat dinner. This morning they left for a short trip, but will be coming back to stay with me later. And as we were waiting for the taxi, I asked my mom a little incredulously if she was going to continue giving me the silent treatment when she came back. Well, she didn't even respond. So I said to her, this is the one time I'm going to bring it up. I'm not going to keep asking about it, and there's not much point in coming to visit me if you're going to ignore me the entire time. So my mom said to me, fine, then we won't be staying with you when we get back. We'll make alternate arrangements. My dad then started laying into me about how it's my fault because I was upset and I upset her yesterday by throwing a tantrum, and now apparently I was trying to bully her into speaking to me. So I said back to him, if you really feel that way, then maybe you should think about whether you want to stay with me when you get back. So am I the jerk for saying this? What should I do? No, you're not the jerk here. Your mom and dad are completely out of their mind if they think this is appropriate behavior. For starters, your mom and dad sound incredibly controlling. Like, that sounds obnoxious and I would never want to deal with that ever. Like, that seriously must be so stressful. And the way your mom was acting when you were upset about the water being out, that is so weird and it's just so unacceptable. I mean, it's almost as if she was trying to find a reason to be upset, and it just doesn't make any sense in the slightest. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, and hopefully for your sake, you're able to get away from your parents and live a life without your parents trying to get in the way. Am I the jerk for refusing to plan my wedding around my stepsister's schedule, all because my mom has constantly made us do that all throughout our childhood? Here's what happened. My fiance and I are planning our wedding, and we set the date not too long ago. My mom reached out after learning the date, and she was all panicked and told me that my stepsister couldn't make it and I should call her up and check for different dates to find out when would work better. Well, I told her that that's not happening and that our date is the date that we've chosen. If my stepsister can't make it, then the world won't end. My mom was taken aback by my response, and she actually asked me how I could say that. She told me a sibling or any immediate family member missing a wedding is a big deal. Now, for a bit of background information, my dad died when I was 6 and when my brother was 5. When I was 8 years old, our mom told us that she had a boyfriend, and when I was 10 years old, she remarried. Her husband had my stepsister with his ex-wife, and they shared custody. Our plans once my mom remarried revolved around my stepsister. Christmas every other year was celebrated at a different time, all because she was with her mom and not with us. Family parties were missed if she wasn't around because mom was pissed at anyone in the extended family who didn't make sure that my stepsister could be there. She would tell my brother and me that we should wait to do something for our stepsister to be there, or she insisted on it and refused to let us go without her. And honestly, we resented it. And we did speak up, but mom said immediate family needed to be there for Christmas, for example. I told her she wasn't my immediate family, so I did not need to wait. My mom always resented the fact that we weren't with her every Christmas Eve because we would be with our paternal family, because thankfully our grandparents won some court-ordered time. But the thing is, she never made everything stop for us though. She would just tell us we could choose to be with the family or we could be going on with other people. And when she would say other people, she was meaning our family. Over time it got worse, with her saying, okay, well why did you see this movie without your stepsister? Why go to the arcade this weekend instead of waiting for the other weekend so she can join? And this honestly was just such insanity. It really did a lot of harm to our relationship with my mom. Neither of us wanted or needed our stepsister included to enjoy it. Neither of us wanted to be forced to plan stuff around her, but we had no choice. Well, fast forward, and that is not how things are anymore. So needless to say, my mom was shocked that I put my foot down so strongly about it. She mentioned the immediate family and sibling thing, and I told her that I never once considered my stepsister my sibling or even my immediate family, and I will no longer plan things around her simply because her attendance is not essential to me. My mom started freaking out on the phone and saying it would really hurt her stepdaughter and husband's feelings to hear this, and how she wanted us all to be together for something as big as a wedding. She even said that she would pay the difference for a different day, but I said no. I told her that my days of catering to my stepsister's schedule are over, and right then and there, my mom went nuts on the phone. I ended the call and I'm dodging her calls and text messages now because she is very mad. So am I the jerk here? What should I do? No, you are not the jerk, but honestly, I am so glad that you stood up for yourself. Obviously, as a kid, you couldn't do that, and it sounds like your mom had a big control over what you could and couldn't do, especially when it came to whether or not your stepsister was involved. So for your mom to literally sit there and be like, you need to pick a different date for your wedding, like that is so insanely toxic, it's not even funny. So no, you are definitely not the jerk, because what your mom is demanding is absolutely ridiculous. Am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that the world doesn't revolve around her and her kids? Here's what happened. I'm a 33-year-old female and I'm the mother of two. The other day was my son's 5th birthday, and my husband and I threw a party at our home. And this party has caused a bit of a rift between me and my husband's twin sister, who we will call Eve. Eve and I don't have much in common, and usually I only see her during the holidays and special occasions. She and my husband are not particularly close either. For context, Eve has 3 kids, ages 9, 5, and 2. A few days before the party, Eve messaged me that she may not be going because it will be during the youngest nap time. I told her that her kid is more than welcome to sleep at our home, and we can put her up in our youngest bed. Eve said that she would think about it, but she would probably just not come. Now, Eve didn't message me or my husband again, so we assumed that she was not coming, but eventually she did turn up on the day. Maybe 5 minutes after she arrived, she asked if the bed was set up for the youngest, and I explained that we weren't expecting them, so I'll need a few minutes to get it ready. Eve then asked if we don't keep our kids' bedrooms tidy, which honestly really irritated me. Now, Eve's daughter did sleep fine. She did fuss a bit waking up, but at least the nap time issue was solved. She then saw the cake that we had for our son, which was hidden in our kitchen, so he wouldn't see it before it was time to blow out the candles. She said that her kids will not eat that kind of cake, which was a lemon cake if that really matters. Now, I know that a lot of kids are probably not keen on lemon cake, but it's what my son likes. So I told Eve that we did have some candy in our kitchen that her kids could have, just so they didn't feel left out of having a treat. They ended up leaving abruptly before we got the cake out and only said goodbye to my husband. But then they came back with chocolate cupcakes from the corner shop, and they literally started serving them to their kids. This caused some of the younger kids at the party to start fussing because they wanted the cupcakes too, and there wasn't enough to go around. Eve also repeatedly connected her phone to our Bluetooth speakers so that she could play some of her music without asking us, and this is despite the fact that we already have music playing. And I asked her to stop because it was making the house sound like a mishmash of music, and she just responded by saying that I'm being a grump. Well, I guess that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, and after the party, I told her that the world doesn't revolve around her and her kids. She then called me selfish and said that I need to lighten up, and she and her family very quickly left after that. And my mother-in-law and father-in-law were still at our house, which really made things quite awkward. Eve has been giving my husband the cold shoulder ever since, and I'm now wondering if I'm the jerk in the situation, because now I'm really not sure how to make things right. No, you're not the jerk here. Eve not only didn't plan anything properly, but she also came off as really entitled. Like seriously, that's not okay. And just look at the way she acted at this birthday party. She was being super weird and just super rude. Like she even left to get cupcakes all because she didn't like the lemon cake that you were serving. Like, that's super rude and super unacceptable. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all, because Eve was being a brat and she was not being considerate of everybody in attendance. Am I the jerk for freaking out when my mom asked me to let her reschedule my birthday plans, also that she could spend more time with her stepdaughter instead of me? Because right now I feel very neglected, and at this point I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 15-year-old female, and for the longest time it was just me and my mom. I never knew my dad or really cared that I didn't know him, and I was really close with my mom, and I didn't want or need anything else. Our relationship was good, but I always sort of felt like she saw spending time with me as an obligation, and that she didn't want to do it as much as me. When I was 12 years old, she told me she had a boyfriend, and that she wanted him to move in with us alongside his daughter. Then she went on to talk about all the Zoom calls that she had with her, and that she had spent some time with her, and how she was a really great kid. She was the best. How she could be my little sister, and how my mom already saw her as another daughter. When I met my mom's husband, he asked a ton of questions about me because mom told him very little, yet my mom had listed off a bunch of stuff about his daughter, and for the sake of the story, we'll call this daughter Kelly. My mom spent all of moving in day being all around Kelly, and ended up leaving me with her husband. He didn't say much, but he just asked me for help once, and then I went to my room. Mom took Kelly out for a special dinner, while her husband and I got other stuff, and I got a frozen pizza and he made some sandwiches. After they moved in, mom spent a lot of time with Kelly. She still spent time with me, but she seemed so excited to spend time with Kelly, and I never saw her show that same excitement for me. I asked my mom why she was so much more excited about being with Kelly, and she told me that was the green-eyed monster talking, and she wasn't more excited to spend time with Kelly. I brought it up a few more times, but mom always said it was just my jealousy talking. But the thing is, I was and I am jealous, but I don't think I was seeing any green-eyed monster. She spoils Kelly and goes out of her way to get Kelly gifts. She boasts about all the stuff that she does too, and I never hear her mention me, which mom said was because I'm older and that she has mentioned me some of the time. My mom was supposed to take me to this place in November to celebrate my birthday, and it's a limited time thing happening, so we can't do it another time. But yesterday, my mom sat me down after school and asked me to reschedule our plans so she can take Kelly to a concert on that day, because Kelly will be with her grandparents the other days her thing is on. And at this point, I just freaked out, and I asked my mom how she could make me give up something for Kelly because she knows that she can't reschedule our plans. I told her that I knew she liked Cammy more, and I never should have tried talking to her before because this stuff was just all the proof. My mom told me to calm down, and she said she was ashamed of my reaction. She told me I was too old to be acting like that and getting so jealous of sharing her. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all, because it really does seem like your mom is playing favorites with your new stepsister. Like, I can understand spending time to get to know her, but at this point, she's basically moving your life around and prioritizing Kelly over you. And that, in my opinion, is completely unfair, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. My entitled neighbors demand that we extend our retainer wall, stating that if we don't follow their exact orders, they will get us in trouble by reporting us to the city. Here's what happened. Okay, for starters, this is really a stupid situation. I've lived in this house with my grandparents for about 6 years. When we moved in, we had this awful wooden retaining wall facing the neighbor's property. Her property is downhill from ours, so the retaining wall keeps our yard from washing away into hers. We found out last year that the wall was rotting and needed to be replaced, so we recently had it replaced with these beautiful retaining stones. We also extended the wall past where the previous wall had been. Now, we can't take it all the way to the street because of the city's guidelines, but it goes far enough. It could be extended by maybe 3 feet, but we couldn't afford to go any farther. Well, the neighbor who we had gotten along with until now didn't like any of this. She complained to us that our wall wasn't long enough and her yard was going to wash away, and she already had rivers running through her yard. We live on a street with no sidewalks, so everyone has ditches for drainage. She never cleans hers despite having huge trees dropping sticks and leaves into it, so her yard floods when it rains, and yet she blames us for that. She then said she could pay for the landscapers to extend the wall, and then showed my grandma some brown retaining stones she said that she could get to try and finish the wall. Our wall is gray, so of course my grandma said no. The neighbor said that she couldn't deal with it and didn't want to be a jerk, but that she would report us to the city if she had to. So my grandma just said, okay, go ahead, and then she walked away. But seriously, what makes her think that she has any right to mess with our wall? Our landscapers even removed a stump from her property for her for free, and she never even thanked them for it. As far as we know, she either hasn't reported us to the city, or the city told her to pound sand. She's trying to make conversations with me, but I simply won't talk to her. I have too much to worry about without having her try to manipulate me into talking to my grandma. Yeah, I've had neighbors like this in the past, where they literally will complain about anything in front of them. I mean, would they rather have those stones lining the property, or some crappy fence that's literally rotting away? So good for you guys for deciding not to get involved with this person, because chances are there's nothing wrong with your wall, and they're probably just looking for something to complain about. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.